Deb and I began our Glacier National Park and Waterton National Park adventure in the summer of 2017. We drove from our home in Denver up to Wyoming. We stopped at Buffalo, Sheridan, crossed the border into Montana, visited the Little Bighorn battlefield, headed west through Montana and up into Kalispell. And Kalispell is where we parked the car and began the bicycle touring part of our trip. We took tents and sleeping bags, etc., to do our bicycle tour. Rode north to Whitefish. From Whitefish, we got on the Peace Park Loop and continued over to Eureka. And from Eureka, we crossed the border into Canada. And then we continued heading north over to Fernie. Fernie is a beautiful ski town in British Columbia. And then we continued north to Sparwood, home of the world's largest truck, by the way. And then we continued our trek on the bicycles eastward, up and over Crow's Nest Pass, continued eastward past Cowley, and then at Pincher Creek is when we headed south going towards Waterton National Park in the Alberta province of Canada. And we went into Waterton National Park, stopped by the Prince of Wales, camped for several nights in Waterton Park, also did a hike up to Crip Lake, and then from there we left on our bicycles back out to the main road into the Indian Reservation, and from that point we crossed the border back into the United States going towards Babb, and Babb is where you get the junction to go towards Mini Glacier Hotel, a beautiful bike ride to Mini Glacier Hotel. Spent several nights there, and then we left on our bicycles going back to Babb, down to St. Mary's, and at that point we picked up the Going to the Sun Road up to that beautiful point over at Logan's Pass, and then down the Going to the Sun Road past Lake McDonald, West Glacier, continuing our bikes to Whitefish, and then down to Kalispell. At that point we unloaded our bikes and got all our hiking gear, and then we drove back into the park, and you'll see the mini hikes that we were able to do when we were in the park. And at the end, we headed back into Glacier Park Lodge and then back into Denver and went by the Oregon Trail. Basically an 8-week trip, mostly by bicycle and hiking, and it was a great adventure. Deb and I are hiking along the Tongue River in northern Wyoming, and we're about 25 miles north of Sheridan.
The remains of about 220 soldiers, scouts, and civilians are buried around the base of this memorial. The officers' remains were removed in 1877 to various cemeteries throughout the country. General Custer was buried at West Point.
We're looking at grave sites on Custer's last stand, June 25th, 1876. They had 41 men remaining. They all shot their horses and used them as defense works, and this is where the last stand took place. These grave markers are actually where the bodies were found after the battle. Good afternoon by this time. We're with Bill, a gentleman here from Nashville, Tennessee. He is doing a loaded tour. And Bill, where are you riding from where to where, please?
Seattle to Dickerson, North Dakota.
Oh, Dickerson. And then how are you going to get home from there?
My wife's going to come up and pick me up.
Okay. And how many miles are you doing on the trip?
I think it's going to be a couple thousand. I don't know. It's a month's worth of riding, whatever that is.
Okay, great. Well, it's been great having breakfast, or I guess now lunch with you, and we appreciate your time. Have a great trip.
Thanks a lot. You all too.
Whitefish Lake in the morning, right outside of Whitefish, Montana. And Deb and I had the opportunity to camp by this beautiful lake last night. What-
from Massachusetts.
What ride are you doing?
Going C to C for
C to
Charlie.
C for Charlie.
Epilepsy.
This is the Athletic
Right.
fundraiser.
Good luck. Riding from Whitefish, Montana to Eureka, Montana. And we get to enjoy the view of Dickey Lake along the way. Taking the back road into Eureka, Montana, about 10 miles out. Just crossed the border into Canada, July 4th weekend, and I understand the Canadians are celebrating their 150th anniversary. Look at this traffic. We're riding along the Elk River on our way from Elko to Fernie in British Columbia.
Well, hello, Deella.
Hello.
Why don't you tell our friends back in Denver what you just finished, how many miles and where, and that you were the first woman to finish.
Yeah, so I just did a ride, 1,070 kilometers from Merritt, BC to Fernie, backcountry riding on my mountain bike, fully loaded. And yeah, I was the first female finisher.
In 6 days,
in 6
too.
days.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And look at her fancy mountain bike. Check this out.
it's not loaded now. I'm on my way out for lunch, so I took everything off, but I have my sleeping
And
bag.
you're from Vancouver?
From Vancouver.
British Columbia. Not
Yeah.
Vancouver, the United
Not
States.
US, yeah.
Which, when we first went, the train company almost left our bikes in the U.S.
Oh.
Dropped them off. So, nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Schmer's house. You can just see it through the sort of bushes. When Piccirillo was sent to prison, his defense counsel was one of them was Sherwood Herchmer, and Sherwood Herchmer was very important in the local area. He was a former Northwest. His father was a former Northwest Mounted Police Commissioner, and he and both of his brothers were all lawyers. And Mr. Sherwood Herchmer actually had his offices in the top floor of the home bank, which is now the museum.
View from our campsite in Alberta. Good morning, Deb.
Morning.
Nice climb.
Wonderful.
You're looking great. Just finished climbing a little hill on Highway 507 on our way to Printer Creek. This is the view we have all day. And way in the distance are some windmills. Today we are going to Waterton National Park in Canada. We're about 17 miles away, and I think that's one of the peaks in Waterton, or maybe on the other side of the border in Glacier. This is the view from Highway 6 on the way to Waterton Lakes in Canada, in Alberta, and about 30,000 acres of what we're looking at has been preserved by the Nature Conservancy of Canada. Morning, finishing yet another morning climb in Alberta.
Yes, it was lovely. Probably 12% grade.
Nice view up here. We just entered Waterton National Park in Canada. This is the view we get to enjoy. And it's an 8-kilometer ride, about 5 miles, all bike path. This road on the way into Waterton alongside the bike path is just loaded with flowers. We are at the Prince of Wales Hotel during afternoon tea. Afternoon tea continues at the Prince of Wales.
Well, good morning, Karen and Doug.
Morning.
Good morning.
It is great to see another couple with yellow panniers. I couldn't believe my eyes. And I want you guys to have a wonderful rest of the trip, a 2-month tour. And since you guys are from Fort Collins, we will see you this fall when we all get back.
All right, well, that's great. Well, you guys have a great trip too.
Okay.
Enjoy the hikes and the riding.
Thank you. It was great meeting both of you. Bye-bye.
This is what happens when you're a new camper. First waterfall on the way up to Crypt Lake. We're looking at bear grass on the way up to Crypt Lake. Apparently this is one of the better years for it, due to the wet spring and early summer. Deb, where are you going?
Into the cave.
Let's
Up
see.
the ladder and then into the cave.
Hi, Deb.
Hi.
Don't forget to write.
Okay.
How far is the drop, Deb?
Couple thousand feet.
Oh no. Crypt Lake. On our way back from Crypt Lake. What a great hike. Deb and I just saw two bear, and one of the bears was a mother with two cubs right off the side of the road. In Canada, about 20 miles to the border in the USA. Like your light, Deb. This is a typical day on the road how our bikes look. Deb has her rear light on, flag, of course her bee and the beehive, bananas, snacks, etc. Deb always has a mace up front for critters, dogs, and of course we're in Canada still on our way to Montana. Bear spray, and last but not least, the front warning light. Panoramic view of Waterton National Park. First time with their senior pass. Great job, Deb.
Hi.
Welcome to old age.
I know.
Oh, no way. I thought it was yours.
Oh, I already have one. I've had one.
He's already had one.
Wow, we get to see Glacier on a bike.
Last year, this was all under construction last year, so all of the rooms, this was a national park, but how do you suppose the Great Northern got people interested in coming here to Glacier? They didn't have internet, they didn't have commercials on TV. So what the Great Northern did is they hired authors to come out to Glacier to hike around and have adventures and write about it, from John Ferry. And he painted, it was amazing. He would come out here in the summer and do a lot of sketches and then go back and finish the paintings. And in 14 months, he painted over 350 paintings for the Great Northern. It's quite amazing. These weren't just tiny little paintings, they were beautiful pieces of art. And it was part of the advertising. Then the Great Northern would put them in all their train stations and around the towns that the train went through, and once again, you would see those and be like, where's that? I gotta get on the train. You'll see down this hallway, there's another painting by Charles. And you may recognize his artwork. He did a lot of drawings for the Field and Stream magazine. This one's just an interesting painting. So there's a group of guys at camp, and there's a deer out there in the water. You can see one of the guys, he's reaching for his camera. No, that's not originally what he was reaching for. If you look closely, you can actually see the outline of where, just knock that to the side, of where his rifle used to lay. Right there. It's one of the mysteries of this mini glacier hotel. We're not sure exactly when it was changed, who changed it, maybe if it was Charles DeFeo himself that was forced to change it, or if just down the road. Cases. One thing you might have noticed is that moose head that's up there. That is the original moose that was here when they opened the hotel. Still here today, which is exciting. And for those large logs that go all the way up to the 4th floor. Those are Douglas fir trees brought over on the railroad from the Pacific Northwest. And so they brought those over on the railroad. And some of you mentioned you'd been to Glacier Park Lodge in East Glacier. They also have huge logs in their lobby.
Good afternoon. I'm here with Eric Kendall. He is the manager of the Mini Glaciers. I was going to say lodge, but Eric was saying the correct term is hotel. So Eric, could you just tell us a little bit about the hotel and the history?
Sure. The hotel was built by the Great Northern Railroad, and they came out in the early 1900s and found Marias Pass, which allowed them to bring the railroad out west from Chicago. They built East Glacier Village and Lodge down there in 1913. 2 years later, they built this magnificent lodge, the Mini Glacier Hotel. So we've been in operation now for 102 years. The idea being that they would build a structure that seemed small when you were outside, but when you stepped into the lobby would have a very large and grandiose appearance. And it would have dealt with or been taken care of for the very wealthy people of the time. When they finished here, they expanded with the annex 2 years later, and then went on up to Waterton and built the Prince of Wales Lodge up there in 1927. So we have those three lodges here on the east side of the park. On the west side of the park, the Snyder and Lewis families realized what the Great Northern was doing, and they built a lodge over there called Lake McDonald, and they did that about 1914, and basically set it up for a hunting and fishing lodge, which, if you can imagine, wasn't quite what you would expect in a national park. So they had that set up. Great Northern had the hotels here and the lodges here on the east side of the park, and there we are.
Okay, thank you very much. And one last question. Could you tell us just a little bit about this fireplace here in the center of the room?
So, yeah, the fireplace was original to the hotel. The acorns that you see would have been loaded with lead shot or lead for weight, and that hood would have been able to be lowered and raised as needed to keep out the wind and the snow. The hearth that you see at the bottom there is actually not original. It was put in, I believe, perhaps in the 30s or 40s. So it would have been flat with the ground or the surface of the floor.
Okay, Eric, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Nice meeting you. We are here at Mini Glacier Lodge with David Wilson, and he and his wife are the caretakers for the Mini Glacier Lodge during the entire winter season. So, David, what's the time frame that you're actually here living in isolation with your wife? And what is the hardest challenge of living here in this lodge, or right by the lodge, and taking care of it during the entire winter when there are no people around?
Well, we're here from October through May. Well, it generally works out to be about 7 months of isolation, pretty much. And probably the greatest challenge is, aside from the months on end of cold and snow, is fresh fruits and vegetables. We stock up. We've never left, actually. We're here pretty much the entire time, and the only way to get out would be to ski. And so we have freezers. We stock full. We have plastic totes we fill with our dry goods, and there we are for the winter. So we have plenty of food, and we stay fairly comfortable, but we do start to crave the fresh fruits and vegetables by the end of it all.
And how is it not having any human contact here for 7 months in the winter?
Well, I guess fortunately we do have each other. I guess previous caretakers haven't had that luxury of being with somebody else, so that's probably why we're some of the longer lasting caretakers for the property. We have enough contact with email, phones, and whatnot, and we do have TV. We have direct TV, so we don't feel extremely isolated. I guess maybe we're kind of used to it too. So I don't know.
Well, thank you very much, and I wish I could meet your wife, Rebecca, but at some point, maybe in the future, I will.
Yeah, we'll hopefully be here too. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
goes up, going to the Sun Highway. 1 mile left to Logan Pass.
We are on the west side of the Going to the Sun Highway, and we're going down a 6% grade into Lake McDonald, and it will be for the next 11 miles at 6%.
What's your name?
I'm Martin from Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania. And Martin, where did you start your bike tour?
Seattle.
You started in Seattle
July
and you
1st.
July 1st, and where are you going to?
East Coast somewhere. What is it? Probably Baltimore, maybe Philly, maybe New York. I don't know. Probably Baltimore.
Wow. And you hardly have any gear here, and you're not wearing bike shoes. Is that a problem for you?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Absolutely.
And look how light you're going. And do you have a tent in there?
I have a tent. I have a tarp. Yeah, a little tarp.
Do you have a sleeping bag?
Yeah, there's a 20-degree sleeping bag in there.
That's amazing. You're traveling so light. That is great. So how's your trip going?
Oh, it's been awesome. Lovely.
And are you looking forward to going over the sun tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Everyone tells me it's the best part of the trip, so there's a lot of hype built up for this thing. So.
There is definitely a lot of hype, so it was...
I've seen some beautiful things, but we'll see how this compares.
I understand totally. Well, listen, you have a wonderful rest of your trip.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Hello there. What is your name and where are you from?
Mike McGee, and I'm from Jasper, Georgia.
Wow. And Mike, where are you going on this trip? What is your route?
Doing a USA perimeter tour, starting from home in Georgia. I went south down to the southern tier, over to California, up the Pacific coast. Now I'm going back on the northern tier to Maine and eventually get back down to Georgia.
And how many miles do you think you're going to be doing on this trip?
Guessing between 12 and 13,000.
Between 12 and 13,000 miles.
I'm at 7,300 right now.
Oh my Lord, and how long is that going to take?
Well, I'm supposed to be home by Christmas, so I better be home by Christmas.
Oh my goodness, and it looks like you have a guitar there. How interesting.
Yeah, I ride for Fender Music Foundation.
Uh-huh.
And they give monies to school systems. When they lose money, the budget gets cut. The first thing goes is the band. So that's where their grants go to. So I'm raising awareness and monies for them in order to be able to do that.
Oh my goodness, what a wonderful, wonderful trip, long trip. I'm totally jealous that you're doing such a long trip.
Well, come with me.
You know, yeah, maybe that's what I'll do.
All your gear, let's go.
I know.
What do you need?
Yeah. So, okay, well, you be totally safe.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay,
appreciate it.
Take care.
Deb and I are officially on part 2 of our trip. This is the hiking portion, and we are here at Lake McDonald in Glacier National Park. Avalanche Creek. Beargrass grows once every 7 years, and we are here in year 7. Lucky us, still on the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park. We're walking through a beautiful meadow of beargrass in Glacier National Park. It grows once every 7 years, and we are here obviously on year number 7. As a side note, the bears don't like to eat the beargrass. This is the Grinnell Glacier off the Highline Trail, and we're going to hike over to the bottom of this a couple days from the mini glacier side. View from the deck of Glacier Chalet.
On our way to the Sperry Chalet. Almost 4,000 feet of climbing today.
On our way to Sperry Chalet, that's the trail. Walk along this beautiful waterfall, and up on the side of the mountain is the chalet. And beyond that is Sperry Glacier. Deb and I just finished our hike up here to the Sperry Chalet. There's only 2 trails up here, and you can only come in on foot or maybe on horseback. And these are our rooms, 1 person per room. And this is the view that we have. In the distance is Lake McDonald, and where we began our hike. We're walking into the Sperry Chalet Dining Hall. They have great food here, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And this is where everyone sits. Seats up to about 50 people. This is the view we have from the deck of the Sperry Chalet Dining Hall. In the distance is Lake McDonald. We hiked up almost 4 miles and well over 3,000 feet of climbing to get here. This is outside a room at Sperry Chalet.
They were really
Oops. These are the snowfields we had to hike over to get to Sperry Glacier. This is the stream crossing and the snowfields that we have to cross over to get to Sperry Glacier. Deb's returning from the Sperry Glacier down the area that was blasted in to make the staircase. And down she goes. We have a ways to go. Traffic jam. Deb and I just had breakfast and left our cabin. Cabin's about 20 feet from here, and we are going to begin hiking the Iceberg Lake Trail. Hi, Deb. Where are you going?
Iceberg Lake with you, honey.
Oh, looking forward to it, baby. Mr. Grizzly has been here and has left his calling card. I wonder how close he is. Danger, all area beyond the sign is closed because of bear danger. Feel like in the fun house. Part 2 of our trip over to Grinnell Glacier. Hi, Deb. Lake number 2 on our way to Grinnell Glacier, and this is Lake Josephine. This is a ranger guided hike. It goes from about 8:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night.
Salamander Glacier, and Salamander is that long horizontal stretch of white that you see about halfway up the garden wall. Salamander Glacier gets its name because it used to look more like a salamander shape, and that would be its nose on the left hand. Named after a man named George Bird Grinnell, who is actually a real interesting character. If you're ever looking for a new biography to read about somebody you probably had never heard of society, and he was the editor of Forest and Stream magazine, which still exists today as Field and Stream. But back in its day, Forest and Stream was the premier outdoorsman journal. And so George Bird Grinnell was back in New York. He was editing Forest and Stream, and there was a man who was doing a lot of traveling and exploring and living with the Blackfeet Indians in this area, a man named James Willard Schultz, and he was having his stories published in Forest and Stream. And so Grinnell became interested in this area through those writings by Schultz. Grinnell first came out into this part of the Rocky Mountains in 1885, and he was on a hunting trip in the same.
On the way to Grinnell Glacier. Here we go.
At the base of the cliffs is the very upper extent of Grinnell Glacier, and from here on pretty much every step we take will just show us a little bit more of the glacier, although we won't see it well until after lunch when we're up in the basin.
We're looking at Elrod's Rock along the trail to Grinnell Glacier. We're almost to the glacier itself, and this rock is actually on maps. And the reason it is that scientists years ago used this as the defining point where the glacier used to go to. And the glacier has moved inland as far as 32 feet per year. Side note, Al Gore came up here in the 90s, hiked up, and before he gave a speech, he went behind rock and changed. So this is known as also the vice presidential changing rock. He wanted to be fresh before the cameras. We're looking at the wall on the Grinnell Glacier side. On the top and on the other side of the wall is a Highline Trail. It is a beautiful trail. Deb and I were hiking that the other day, and we took a side trail called the View up to the top, and we actually looked down at where I'm at right now, about a week ago. We're looking at Grinnell Glacier, and the foreground is the lake, and in the lake you see the icebergs floating around. They actually calved off from the glacier over time. As a side note, all glaciers are at least 25 acres in size, 77 feet to 100 feet in depth, and because of that size they move, and the movement is what makes them a glacier. And they also grind off the rock, and the flour or the remnants from the rock get suspended in the water, which gives it that beautiful blue look. This surface, you can see my hand going over, is really smooth, and it's that way because the glaciers recede, pull the rocks back, and just polish it. It's a shame you can't feel it through the video. It's very, very smooth. is the Cattle Bear and Supper Club. It's in Babb, Montana, about 10 miles from Mini Glacier. It's owned by the Blackfoot Indians. Deb and I had dinner here the other night, and it was great. We are in the Glacier Park Lodge in East Glacier, Montana. This lodge was built in 1913 by the Great Northern Railroad. And the beams that we're looking across, the support beams across the hallway from us, are Douglas fir trees, 500 to 800 years old, that were logged specifically for this hotel. How are the berries, Deb?
Oh my God. Delicious.
Who's that behind you?
Yogi.
Yogi!
Yogi's mad I'm eating his berries.
Uh-oh, I think you need
berries. Uh-oh.
You're going to have to pay a fine. Hiking down from No Name Lake to Medicine Lake in Glacier National Park. Deb and I have officially ended our trip today, at least the hiking portion of it. We are at Ted's Montana Grill in Bozeman, Montana. What a great trip. Sorry to see it end. We are at a location called Soda Springs, just south of Pinedale, Wyoming. It is the location of the northern cutoff of the Oregon Trail. Oregon Trail was the first federally funded roads project west of the Mississippi. At least the land cutoff was what we're looking at. And in the distance are the remnants of the wagon marks across the prairie.